It's 7 a.m. on Tuesday, October the 7th, 2025. Good morning and a warm welcome to your perfect day start to the morning brief. I am Kayode Okikelu. Well, it's now 7:01 a.m. But that's the situation of things in Lagos. Looks like it's going to rain today. But I wonder what it's like in the nation's capital. Bukola?
Well, it's cool, Kayode, right here in the nation's capital. Of course, it continues to be stormy through the night, depending on which part of the Federal Capital Territory that you are in. But we rise on the power of hope and calling to national reflection, and with empathy in our hearts. Of course, a trite call from the former CDS, General Lucky Rabo, retired, against all odds. Welcome to your perfect morning starter right here on Channels Television. I am Bukola Koka. And so what's happening in the commercial capital this morning, Kayode?
Bukola, what is breakfast without cooking gas? Except you're trying salad or something you don't need to cook. So that is the big story, I must say, not just in Lagos, actually, but in other parts of the country, the price of cooking gas. I mean, people used to buy it for less than 1,000 naira barely months ago, but now they're buying it for 2,000 naira, some even more. So if you have a 13-kilogram cylinder, you're paying 26,000 naira to refill it. Now, why is this the case? Because there's been that concern. Come on, we're already paying a lot for foodstuff compared to what we used to pay some years ago. We're paying a lot more for electricity. We're paying a lot more for our rents. Everywhere you turn, people are paying a lot more for transport, all of that. So why cooking as well? Come on, that's the basic. So the group chief executive of NNPCL, Mr. Bayo Julari, was asked about that. And here's what he had to say. He was at the State House. And this is the reason he gave for the hike in the price of cooking gas. I want you to take a listen.
A communique that has been agreed. I think it was quite unfortunate that the Dangote and Bengasin issue, led to the strike. And as you know, whenever there's strike and critical staff manning critical facilities are not available, is almost impossible. In this particular case, we actually lost significant production of almost over 200,000 barrels per day of production that was deferred. We also have gas production that was deferred, and power generation also was impacted. About 1.2 megawatts of power was affected by that strike. But I think I'm very pleased that the federal government, through the leadership of the Federal Minister for Labor and also full support from the National Security Advisor, we're able to pull together everyone into a dialogue and bring everybody to the table. And now there's been a communique that has been agreed on the way forward. We're all very hopeful that everyone will abide by those communiques. We recorded about 1.68 million barrels per day of oil production last month, which was very good. That was the first in about 5 years in terms of milestones. We also recorded the highest gas production at about above 7 BCF per day again, which is also the highest in recent times. But what we're also expecting is that with some of the turnaround maintenances that we've done in the month of August and September, all of those are meant to come back this month. And we are hoping that before the end of the year, we should at least be clocking at least 1.8 million barrels per day, all things being equal.
Well, it's a controversial issue. Is the strike enough to have hiked that price? By the way, we've seen a lot of fluctuations with the price of cooking gas. They declared a strike on Monday and they called it off on October 1st, right? So 2-3 days. Is that what's responsible for this? Because it really does not add up, if you ask me. So I want there to be some more transparency in that sector. Pegasus could well say, well, they're just giving us a bad name, so you can hang us or pin this on us. Because we look at the ex-depot price of this gas across the board. It's below 1,000 naira. So why are Nigerians paying 2,000 naira for that? It still does not make sense, Bukola, if you ask me.
Indeed, Kayode. And the question is, following the calling of that strike, the return to work of senior staff of the oil industry, will the gas prices return to what they were. You know what they say about prices in Nigeria: what goes up rarely comes down, but we hope that it does come down. But Kade, don't also forget that amid the conversations on the Pengassan standoff with Dangote Refinery through much of last week, one of the economists did tell us that the refinery offers to sell gas to, the marketers at 800 naira per kilogram. And he wonders why the marketers choose to sell gas for 1,200, sometimes 1,300 naira per kilogram. Those are the questions that we should be asking. And indeed, we should be taking this conversation beyond this level to asking representatives of the international oil companies, the IOCs, why gas prices were that expensive even at that time before the strike, and why they're going beyond the rooftop now. And some say that it was not necessarily because of the strike. It was just for 2 days, and of course there should have been reserves prior to that time, but that this may be the result of Shylock tendencies of some marketers who are anticipating that indeed this may go beyond this time, and they have now increased prices. So there is a lot of there's a huge lack of accountability in the pricing space as far as gas pricing is concerned. And we must also be putting these questions through to the Minister of State for Petroleum Gas, of course, who has in the past spoken about many efforts to bring down the price of cooking gas, with initiatives. So why are those initiatives not coming through more than 2 years down the line amid this administration? Very important conversation, Kayode.
Definitely, Bukola. But what Nigerians want is quite simple. Reduction in the price. At least you should not have to worry about refilling your gas cylinders. There's lots of queues now. In fact, some people don't even have at all, because a lot of these outlets aren't selling. So beyond just trying to say, oh, it's as a result of this strike or this and that, the authorities must ensure that they do right by Nigerians, right? You don't want hungry people added to the anger already. You don't want that on your hands. So they must sit up and ensure that this is solved as a matter of urgency, not just saying this is who's responsible or that person is responsible, because some people even buy it for as much as 3,000 naira. So imagine you have a 13 kg cylinder. Come on, that's 39,000 naira that you have to pay for that. So when people used to pay less than 10,000 naira to refill their gas cylinder. So this is important, and I want to see as much urgency from the path of government. Speaking of another area that needs a lot of urgency, it's in the area of security. What do I say? Insecurity. And, Nigeria's former Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Rabo, has been speaking. Oh, yes. One of the sites I remember was when, he left office, and there was a lot of jubilation in his home that he returned back home safe and sound. But he's been speaking this time around about the fight against insecurity in Nigeria. He was on Channels Television yesterday, and he said something quite instructive, Bukola, that there are no legal instruments to indicate that Nigeria is at war. He says that we're only assuming that we're at war with, terrorists, bandits, and insurgents unleashing violence across Nigeria. And that is very instructive, really, because it says, yes, we assume there's a mindset, but there isn't a documentation. There isn't any instrument that says, you know what, this is where we're at and this is what we'll do with it. I know there's been that back and forth about, okay, our current laws or our current instruments take care of situations like this. But one question I was put to him was, why are we still at war at this time, in spite of all of the successive, counterinsurgency efforts that we've had for over 10 years now? Bukola, a submission of a former CDS, that goes a long way.
Indeed, it does go a long way. And I recall that he also said that we must deploy more than, the military instruments, in order to declare a state of terrorism, declare total war on insurgency and banditry in the country. But the question really is, Kade, is there a political will to tackle insurgency and banditry in Nigeria. And we must continue to ask questions of subnationals, and indeed the federal government must ask questions of, the, what do they call it now, security vote of the subnationals, an undetermined amount. How much indeed goes to the police command? How much goes to, the police formations across the country? Why are the initiatives of the technology deployed by the police leadership, why are they not being sustained through the time of, implementation and announcement? We must continue to ask questions of increase or the lack of it of recruitment of men of the force. What is the ratio of policing to the people? Why do we still have more of, our security operatives securing the political elite, and we have less and less of them securing the people? Why is response time rather, poor when it comes to emergencies, when it comes to, the critical times where people are under attack? And we can continue to mention, instances of Plateau, of Benue, not just in 2025, but over the years. Recall the former Vice President, Professor Oshimbajo, once spoke about the need to look into the procurement processes of military equipment. There's also should be accountability, with the military leadership, with National Assembly committees oversighting procurement, oversighting the purchase of military equipment. Are we having more funds, resources deployed to infrastructure in the military than deployed to the purchase of military equipment? Why has the purchase, for instance, of the Super Tucano aircraft not significantly altered the balance in the fight against insurgency? So the big question really is the political will. It is evidently lacking to rein in on insurgency and banditry. And in fact, former President Goodluck Jonathan spoke to it when he said it is more complex than, what we think it is. It's like speaking in veiled terms. He was a former chief security officer at the national level. And when you assume office at that level, I believe you're privy to information that, the rest of the nation is not aware of. So chief security officers evidently know something that you and I do not know, Kayode, and there's very little accountability in that space. And they should do right by Nigerians and, go beyond this rhetoric that we keep hearing about security, insecurity, time and again. There really is more to insecurity in Nigeria than meets the eye. And the key word, Kayode, is, or the key words are lack of accountability. Kayode.
Well, something to look forward to is the expected security meeting next week on October the 9th. That's Tuesday, October the 9th. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation had put out an invitation to Council of State and even the Police Council for a security meeting next week. By the way, the Council of State is made up of the president, who's the chairman, the vice president, all former presidents of the country, former heads of government as well, of former CJNs as chief justices of Nigeria, president of the Senate, the speaker, and all of that. So that meeting is expected to hold next week, Tuesday. It's concerning security, so perhaps these issues will be raised. So I think it's very instructive that the former CDS spoke about that. So that when that meeting holds, this shall form part of the deliberation. So the work is cut out for them. We must ensure that the security and welfare of the people is upheld by the government. But let's get right into what the dailies are saying this morning. What a day it was yesterday. And in a moment, we'll be walking you through the front pages. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Let's get started. We'll be joined by Mr. Adeni Ifetayo as we walk through what the dailies are saying. He joins us virtually on the program this morning. You're welcome to the show, Mr. Ifetayo. Let's start off with the Guardian newspaper. Guardian starts with student loan today. Yes, I mean, education is important. It was World Teachers' Day on Sunday. We had a conversation around, the standards, remuneration, the availability or otherwise, how we are under-teachered, if there's anything like that in Nigeria. But Nelfund hugs the headline this morning. You see, Nelfund kicks as institutions hike tuition fees and charges for profit. It's on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. What do you make of this in the context of a conversation around, well, education is global, it's expensive, so just like electricity and other, in quote, amenities, they say we need to charge rates that are reflective, of global standards in that sense. What do you make of this? It's a very tricky balance, Mr. Fetayo.
Yes, talking about student loan, I think where is a laudable initiative or policy from the government, but sometimes we have some people who are regarded as a square peg in a round hole to frustrate whatever it is that the government intended. And if you look at it from the past, they have the way they charge their rate, but because there's advent of a student loan, hundreds of billions have been, arranged or set aside for this. Some people want to manipulate or frustrate it. But I feel that it's not, it is high time that Ministry of Education should look into it and see what is obtainable. For example, I was going through the list. If you want to study medicine, especially in Edo State University, I think initially it was 3-point-something million, but now increase over 1 million. So for you to do a 6 years course in medicine, you'll be owing government almost 51 million naira, when it comes to student loans. So how do you want to repay that? Mortgaging a future of debt for our future leader, I don't think is the right way we need to go. I think it's the high time that the Minister of Education should call Commissioner of Education, let them come together, especially the school or the institution that were found culpable, just to frustrate. And I felt that some people or some institutions, they saw that, this is a national cake and it's an opportunity for us to grab what we can collect from the government. And of course, it's also an high time for some of these anti-graft agencies to look at it, who is trying to sabotage whatever good intention that the government has in place. But Ministry of Education at the federal level need to rise up to the occasion before it comes to students going on strike or they want to protest. But I think they can do better. 100% increment, where we can still understand 20%, 30%, but 100% increment, 140%. In fact, there's an institution almost 520% increment. No, that's uncalled for.
Well, Mr. Fetayo, it's a very interesting conversation, and we really must sit down to have this one, because a lot of people thought that would be the idea of a student's loan. So schools are able to then get some more liquidity, some more funding. So I'm sure the schools looked at it and said, let's factor in inflation, forex, subsidy removal, and all of that, and all of these perennial issues, and hike our rates since there's funding anyway coming from government. And a lot of them will tell you, if you go to the US, for example, and see how much student loans are being owed, maybe a student owes an average of $30,000 to almost $40,000 student loan. So they probably did the math and said, okay, maybe it's not that bad. Let's increase the rate. But this is a conversation we must really sit down to have. What do we want of our education system? How do we address that issue of funding? But Bukola, that's a big story on the Guardian newspaper. What do you have in Abuja?
The Nigerian News Direct to look at, first of all, this morning, and we might also ask questions also about our oil industry. What do we want from our oil industry, particularly now that we have a significantly improved refining capacity? It appears as if the last may not have been heard about the Pengassan-Dangote standoff, following through from comments from the VP yesterday. And Mr. Ifetayo, look at the front page of the Nigerian News Direct. Nigeria is greater than Pengassan. We must support Dangote to succeed. Shatima. And of course, in response to that, yesterday, Mr. Ifetayo, Mr. Osifo said, Nigeria is greater than Dangote. What is it for you? We can't ask enough of that question. How do you strike a balance between protecting that national asset and indeed protecting workers' rights?
Yes, in as much that workers' rights need to be protected, but I think we are first Nigerians before we belong to any association, whether Pengasa or NMA, whatever it is that is there. So I felt that they should strike a balance in as much as, is this thing going to do us a greater good, or is we are going to pay for it? Just like they reported that just 2 days or 3 days of this impasse, of this misunderstanding, or we are going to strike on all of that, cost us billions of naira and all of that. And even in FCT, we had the situation that Q returned to some filling station and all of that. But to me, it's like a sabotage. I think in future, to make sure we guide against such a thing not to happen again, there should be a window that when we have a situation like this, let's explore almost 3 months so that we can talk about it, look at it, like what they now resolve that, okay, we absorb those workers, but not within the refinery because they might sabotage the system. Nigeria is bigger than any institution. Nigeria is bigger than any association, and that is, for me, we are Nigerians before any association. But I think government should put a template in place, and just like the Shetima said, we need to protect what has come to save us, not just only creating jobs, but forex, because for us to depend on importing what we are going to use, what we are going to consume locally, it takes a lot, or it depletes some of our foreign reserve. And if we have something that have come to solve that, I think we should applaud it and support it to succeed.
Clearly the conversation is not over, Mr. Efetayo. We'll see how it plays out. But Vanguard newspaper leads with infrastructure this morning, and it's not the very best image you'd like to see. But this is what a lot of people experience on a daily basis on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. You see federal highways of horror, collapsed roads making life unbearable for travelers. You see the tags South-South and Southwest. By the way, that picture is a failed section of Benin Sapele Road in Edo and in Delta State. But there's more. There's Ado-Ekiti Ijan Road in Ekiti State, Owo, Ifon Road in Ondo State, and a federal road in Edo State. You would almost think that these are pictures from 1992. But no, these are pictures from yesterday, from today in Nigeria. Mr. Efetayo, we've all been there.
Yes. For me, I think I won't say federal government. Okay, let me rephrase it. For me, I think the governor, the executive, the chief security officer of each state, they are not doing well. Every year you have a minister who comes from your state. I think you should prioritize some infrastructure that, sometimes they say this road belongs to federal government, this one belongs to state. But I think they need to work hand in hand when it comes to infrastructure, especially road, because when we have bad road, it might result to accidents, the car, malfunctioning, loss of time, human power, energy, waste so much time that could have been invested in doing some meaningful and profitable stuff. But I feel that the governors in their state, they should look into this. It's not the same thing we see happen next year unless they do something differently. So they should look at it. These are the major roads belongs to federal government. Work with the minister, whether it's Minister of Information in your state or whatever it is. Present this during budget presentation. I'm sure they will have a meeting, what they want to do and all of that. And if some of these roads have been allocated, the money have been released, or they are in part of the budget for 2024 or 2025, questions should be asked. What have you done so far? Have you done a job, method with the fund that have been released or allocated to this road? So those are the questions that we need to ask. And of course, anti-graft agency should also, swing into action, look at the road, look at the budget, has the money being released for this road, who is a contractor handling it, what are the causes of this? So those are the things you should be looking to. Nigerians deserve better infrastructure because one of the primary duty of any government or serious government is to make sure that infrastructure works, regardless the state, as long as is what they need to do. And that's my own about it. It looks sort of just like you said, like we are still in the ancient of days, not something that can be commended. And this also put off investor, shy away foreign direct investment, because if you don't have a good road network and good infrastructure, why would they come? And also for those people who are in the village or the farmer, how will they bring their farm produce, to the city center or to the market? It calls for a whole lot of to declare emergency when it comes to infrastructure, especially road that connect interstate across the federation.
All right, Bukola.
Well, more from the nation's capital, Kayode, and this time let's take a look at New Telegraph. Of course, it leads with the Dangote-Pengassan standoff, and we may have spoken to that. You can also find on the front page of the New Telegraph this morning, spotlighting the arrival of Mr. President. And I was privileged, would I say, maybe not so privileged, to witness his arrival and the very long convoy. And amid all of that, traffic had to be stopped on both sides of the expressway, of course, because Mr. President had arrived and had to get a thorough fare. But unfortunately, unlike the president of France, who called President Trump, I didn't have Mr. President's number so that we could get a thorough fare. But that's on the lighter side, Kayode and Mr. Ifetayo. Maybe we should look at a bit of politics from the front page of New Telegraph. Lawyer heads to court to stop Jonathan from contesting 2027. Mr. Ifetayo, it appears as if the drums of war have begun being beating already. And amid all of this, why do you think former President Jonathan has not come out in clear terms to state, oh, I am interested or I am not interested? Isn't this reminiscent of what transpired ahead of the 2023 polls? And we never had, a clear direction as to the intentions of the former president.
First and foremost, for those that went to court, you can't count your chicken before they hatch. You understand? He has right to contest or not to contest, but of course, some of these calculations, they know that once it comes on board, the vote, especially of the incumbent, is going to be divided. I am sure that's not what they will. That's what they don't want to happen. And of course, Mr. President, former President Goodluck Jonathan. When it comes to politics, you keep the very last card or your joker to your chest until the last moment. So whether he will contest or not, just like one of his cousins came to say that, well, I'm not speaking for him. He has not declared his intention, but that does not mean if you want to contest, he will not do that. We in the last election, since it was clear, I'm sure they will just refer to that. They might say it's just an abuse of a court process. If he wants to come out, let's know, then they can know where to go. But of course, they are just trying to calculate. He has his own follower, he has his own number. Even if he declares support for any party, regardless whether he will come out or not, it is still going to divide the votes of the incumbent. But that's what they don't want to happen. Because they are shouting him, look, they still want to go for the second term or whatever it is. But let's see what will happen. We just want a transparent election. And just like former Minister of Interior said, Arregbesola said that, principal beneficiary of a manipulation should not be allowed to nominate the INEC chair, whatever it is. But Nigeria just wants a transparent election where their vote will be counted, and that's just for it. So whoever that is that want to come out, whether Jonathan or not, whoever is going to give his support to, it will still divide or bring in some vote for such party.
Okay, we'll see how this again plays out, whether he would run. I think there are lots of cases waiting for him should he choose to run. Some have said they don't see him running. Some other people say never when it comes to politics, because politicians, are optimists for life. They probably don't say chance, but they still throw their hat in. And some just decide to do it for the clout, just have some sort of investment in people's minds. So they probably will get another post eventually. So we'll see how, well, former president plays this out in the coming months. A couple of more stories on the front pages, but I think we've done justice to it. Just to mention the story about the Minister of Science. That story has been making the rounds, Mr. Fetayo. Started, by the way, in 2023, when he was nominated to be in President Bola Tinubu's cabinet. And he sort of tapered down, but all of a sudden it's come up again. The case is in court. It's not just on social media. It's in the university, it's NYSC, on the front pages. I wonder what you make of this. This is not the first minister in the cabinet that has had issues around certificates, NYSC, and all of that. Even the president has had his own fair share of scandal around his own certificates.
I think some of our security agency, they have not been firm in their discharge of their duty, because I know for you to put into your credential that you want to become a minister, whether your party nominated you, whether Mr. President nominated you, I think there's a kind of background check that they do. All these things should have been put to rest since when he raises his ugly head. You go to school, you authenticate the certificate that was submitted. What this, like he was saying, the minister was saying through his spokesperson, that look at the brochure that was given to us in 1985. My picture was there, my name was there, and all of that. So it's just a matter of comparison. Who are those? What are the kind of certificate, the brochure you produce? They should come out. They shouldn't, education institution, I don't see them joining, being playing partisan politics. You understand? And if the man is found wanting, he should be made to face the wrath of law. And of course, I believe our leader, they hardly do it. When there's a question, for you to step aside and say, okay, let me face it so that I will not tarnish the institution or the agency that I'm representing. But they will never do that. They will fight it. And I think it's not a good one for Mr. President. You can call your minister, hey, go and clear yourself. You always have my support. And when you are done, then you can be vindicated. But no, politics, we always play down. People, you need to be watching your back and all of that. But if you don't have a skeleton in your cupboard, why not just face the probe? And for the institution, University of Nsukka, they should do the needful, release his manuscript. If he has the 1985 brochure, the one you have, maybe it's another one that is displaying or whatever it is, just complain and let all Nigerians know. And of course, one or two people should be shamed for it, so that it will serve as a deterrent to another ugly certificate standard that may raises its ugly head in the future. Because if you are not firm about it, it's still going to repeat itself again.
Okay, thankfully we have that matter on the show today. We'll be taking a look at it much deeper for Nigerians to get a sense of what exactly is playing out, because it would look like there are different facts out there. The minister and his team sticking to the guns. There's mixed messaging from the school, but the work that Premium Times did is also towering just above some of those evidence or facts that have been put out. So Nigerians need to know what the truth is, and that is where we'll get to on the show this morning. Perhaps we can just take one more paper. This Nigeria, let's just see what this Nigeria reports today. The genocide issue, the reported genocide, particularly by the US senators, politicians and the rest, and even people in Nigeria, is the big story on the front page of this Nigeria. And you see, no genocide in Nigeria. Senate tells United States, refutes reports Christians are being targeted in the north, urges foreign missions to verify claims. This is one issue that is not going away easily. Mr. Ifetayo, particularly because we've seen consistent attacks on the clergy, abductions of priests. We've seen attacks on communities that are said to be core Christian communities, whether in Plateau and the rest. And it looks like a lot of people, particularly in the US, picked this up. And it's not the first time. It's been on for a while. This conversation has been on. But the government time and again keeps pushing back, saying in this fight or this insecurity issue, it's not just Christians that have been killed, Muslims have been killed as well. But the latest to speak to this is the Senate. What do you make of this, Mr. Ifetayo?
Yes, of course, let me say this, that the genocide that they refer to is not targeted against Christian only. Initially when it started, the issue of Chibok girls, just like you said, some Christian-dominated area in the north. But as time goes on, we notice that even those, the Muslims, Muslim brother, from mosques, there's so much atrocity going on. But of course, if the government have done their job, if they are also fair and recorded so much results, and the Senate, the Senate will not be needing to defend Nigeria that, there's no genocide going on in Nigeria or targeted against Christians. But because after 2 days or 1 week, we hear of kidnap, killings, and all of that. So it begs for more question to be answered. So I just felt that, our military personnel, they are doing their best, but I'm sure you listened to one of the review during the our former CDS who in his book saying that sometimes he wants to praise the military, pursuing the Boko Haram with bare hands, no weapon, that means that thing really happened. So if you don't have a weapon or sophisticated weapon to fight insecurity, so tell me what you are doing. That means you are joking. But this is the fact that there are killings going on in the north, but it's not particularly targeted towards a particular region.
Right.
And the issue of security is the issue of everybody, not just this particular region, that particular religion, so to say, or because you belong to this political party or that other party.
Right.
Anyway, it's just for them to do more than what they have been doing before, so that they can have confidence that the government is really fighting insurgency and killing in the northern part of Nigeria.
Well, Mr. Ifetayo, to also put that headline in proper context, because it says Senate, and you may think, is this a Senate spokesperson? Is this a position of Nigeria's Senate? Because you have representation even from those communities that have been attacked. It is today that the Senate will debate on that motion titled Urgent Needs to Correct Misconceptions Regarding the Purported Christian Genocide Narrative in Nigeria and International Communities. So that is being sponsored by Senator Ali Ndume from Borno South and co-sponsored by Senators Sonny Musa from Niger East, Magatakarda Wamako from Sokoto North, Ibrahim Bomai from Yobe North, and Ahmed Ali Wadada from Nasarawa West. So that is not the Senate speaking just yet. It is some senators sponsoring a motion that will then be debated upon on the floor of the Senate. So I want to implore Nigerians to pay attention to the plenary today and see how your representatives are able to speak on that issue, if they represent the true happenings in your communities or not. So please, Nigerians, let's pay attention to what plays out in the Senate, because I think it will be very instructive. Mr. Adeni Ifetayo, we have to thank you for your time, as always, on the program today. Always appreciate, and have a great day ahead.
Yeah, thank you. It's my pleasure. To have a wonderful day.
We'll take a quick break now, and when we return, we're talking about a very important mineral. It came up, and it has come up time and again on the news. It's about lithium. What is happening with lithium, the mining of it or otherwise in Nigeria? We have a member of the National Assembly who's championing a cause to ensure the right things are done. That's the moment. Stay with us.
Welcome back. And so our first conversation on the morning brief this morning centers on solid minerals development, lithium to be specific. And of course, yesterday, the Vanguard newspaper did set the tone for this conversation with its lead story focusing on the $92 billion rush leaving Nigerian investors behind. So why are Nigerian investors not rising to the occasion, knowing full well that Nigeria has a very huge deposit of global lithium minerals around the world? Joining us to have this conversation this morning is someone who should know, and he is Honorable Clement Jimbo, member representing Abak Etim Ekpo Ika Federal Constituency. Good morning, Honorable Jimbo.
Thank you very much, and good morning to Nigerians.
I hope I got the name of your constituency.
You are correct, very correct.
All right, fantastic. Thank you for joining us on the program.
It's my honor.
So I wonder, that should be the first leg of our conversation. Nigeria has a huge deposit of lithium, and despite of that very obvious fact in our face, there are very few Nigerian investors in that space. What we hear is foreign investors who have, taking full space in some of the states where this mineral is being mined. Why is that the case?
Well, thank you very much for having me once again. It is rather very unfortunate. You see, if we take our minds back to independence, post-independence, what sustained Nigeria was agriculture. Then we invented into oil, and oil became, or is becoming, like a malady, a cost to our nation instead of making tremendous progress. And because of that, we were totally oblivion on the solid mineral sector. Until, let me say now, that people's eyes are becoming wide open. Awareness is gradually gaining entrance into that space. A couple of months back, the president and commander-in-chief went to Nasarawa State and commissioned the largest lithium mining company in Nigeria. And before then, I, as a member of the parliament, when I was inaugurated on the 13th of June, had looked at this very sector critically. And I also observed and discovered that this is one sector that is highly unregulated. It is free entry, free exit. Nobody seems to care on what is happening in that sector. I said, this piece of solid mineral called lithium, what is its advantage? What can it be modeled out into? A little research I did ventured me into a component of the devices that we use almost everywhere in this country called battery, inserted in an handset. And I looked at what Bureau of Statistics said, that currently we are using over 200 million handsets in this country daily. That same statistical body equally says that we are driving over 12 million cars on our roads. Millions of devices that are battery operated in their numbers. And I equally ask myself, what is that ingredient that is used in the production or manufacture of battery? I discovered it was lithium. And it will equally amaze you to know that the lithium we have in Nigeria is rated the best globally, with 13% lithium content. You can't find that anywhere in the world. So I ask myself again, what is it that we are lacking in converting this solid mineral into finished good for our consumption and even export? It is technology. What we are lacking is technology. How can we get the technology? I said, okay, let us take our minds back. Before the advent of fiat money, paper money, what we were using was called trade by barter. If you have yam, I have beans, and you need my yam, we simply exchange. So since we are not having the needed technology to add value to these raw materials, can we leverage on our huge population vibrant population, energetic population, consuming population to attract the technology that we need. For example, any nations that wants to produce a product that contains battery in it into Nigeria, the law will tell him, yes, it is a welcome idea, but you must intentionally, deliberately relinquish to us the technology to produce a component of that device in Nigeria using our raw materials. So I said, okay, let us put a legal framework in place. Okay. And that baked my bill for the establishment on the National Commission on Technology Transfer, which has scaled through first reading, second reading, public hearing in the House.
Is that different from your bill to establish Lithium Development Commission?
No, it's different from the bill.
It's different.
Yes, but at some point we are going to harmonize. This is just on the lithium, but my own is broad aspect. It covers almost all the solid mineral that, or any device that will be imported into Nigeria, that a component of that production can be done in Nigeria.
All right.
Yes.
So, but my question is, Nigeria already has the Solid Minerals Mining and Development Act 2007, I believe, which provides a legal framework for mining all categories of solid minerals. So isn't your technology bill and this Lithium Development Commission bill, you know, an activity that sort of reinvents the wheel?
No. You know, it is not reinventing the wheel. Rather, it's circumventing the wheel. What you've just read is the body license for, given as a license for people to go into the mining of the solid mineral, not to add value to the solid mineral for our finished consumption. What my own bill is proposing is that, look, any solid mineral that we have in abundance in Nigeria that is capable of producing this chair that we are sitting down, that is capable of producing this microphone that we are using, that is capable of producing anything that we consume in Nigeria, if that product must enter Nigeria, the country of import must deliberately give us the technology to produce a component of that device. For example,
and this is missing in the Solid Minerals Mining Act 2007. This component is missing in that.
Obviously, what I am just telling Nigerians now is not in existence. Okay, let's say, for example, let's break it down for our listeners to really understand. We are currently using over 200 million handsets. Let's assuming the 12 million handset that we are using, the battery is produced in Nigeria. Let's also assume that the 12 million cars that we are using, the batteries are produced in Nigeria. Let's equally look at that the laptops, the iPad that we are using in their millions in this country, the cameras that we are using in their millions, the batteries are produced in Nigeria. That is the intent of the bill we are talking about. And the advantage of this bill is that obviously it's going to generate employment for our teeming population. Obviously it's going to increase our gross domestic product. Obviously, it's going to add value to our solid mineral sector, and it's going to close the gap that the trade surplus that we are currently enjoying. We are going to open more the gap. And every nations of the earth that we are rated developed nation today leverage on this same template. For example, Indonesia, just last year, 2024, Indonesian government told Apple that you cannot bring in any Apple product into Indonesia until you comply with their 40% backward integration process, that 40% of your device must be produced locally in Indonesia. And currently it is happening, because Apple went and established a $1 billion manufacturing plant in Indonesia, sourcing from Indonesian government as a country. What stops Nigeria from leveraging on that? That is why I said we are circumventing the wheel, not reinventing.
Your technology transfer bill, you said it has scaled through
First reading, second reading, public hearing. At this time, it's at the committee level.
Now, and you rightly also observed that President Bola Tinubu commissioned lithium manufacturing factory some months back. How will your bill compel those who are mining lithium, the foreign investors? How will it compel them to mine to the effect that, you know, it ensures that the raw materials are, you know, processed here, and it is for the benefit of Nigerians in terms of manufacturing and in terms of revenue generation?
It's fantastic. It is very simple. The people mining our lithium, where are they taking it to? and what is the value addition they are integrating into the oil, the raw materials. Now, let me take us back to Indonesia. I'm coming back to your question in a jiffy. Apple has complied with that regulation in Indonesia. Samsung has complied. Almost all the major phone manufacturing companies in the world have complied. Meaning that when the solid mineral in Nigeria mine raw, carted away from Nigeria, they sell it to these companies that are manufacturing battery. Tesla, call it electric cars. Yeah, they all use battery. So they shipped it to this company, they refine this product, manufacture the battery, and send us a finished good. So, back to your question. When this becomes a legal framework, a law in Nigeria, obviously the companies that are mining this lithium raw and taking it back will send a signal to those adding value to this raw material that comes from Nigeria. Look, Nigeria is no longer a consuming nation. For you to send this product back to Nigeria as a finished good, you must intentionally, deliberately establish a manufacturing plant in Nigeria. In order what? Add value to these raw materials in Nigeria so that we can equally retain labor. We can equally add value to our raw materials, and we can equally transfer the technology to ourselves. Indonesian government is using it. Chinese government is using it. Even the USA is using it. So what stops Nigerians from equally leveraging on this template to develop our nation?
That's an aptitude. I'm sure Kayode has more questions for you in that regard, or differently. Over to you, Kayode.
Well, thank you, Bukola. I mean, it's beautiful to listen to this conversation. It's also very painful at the same time. It reminds us of what's happened and is happening with crude oil in Nigeria and some other deposits. I want you to speak to where we're at right now, because the government has been making some sort of moves. By the way, when you say it is the best in the world, you know, I was just looking at the ratings. Australia is, responsible for about half of the lithium that the world uses in West Australia. And you see the lithium oxide in their own lithium is between 1% to 3%. Well, the one for Nigeria is 7%, even as much as 13%, possibly. I mean, that gap is really huge. So you can just imagine the quality of that. But again, a lot of people want to debate the best tag. But here's my point. If we're saying that the value of lithium deposit in Nigeria is in a range of billions of dollars, some put it at 30 plus billions of dollars. That is huge. But you know, we had the Minister of Mining, Mr. Dele Alake, speaking, I think it was in May, that Nigeria is opening a $600 million lithium processing plant near Kaduna, Niger border, slated for commissioning, I think it was last quarter. And a $200 million lithium refinery on the outskirts of Abuja is also underway. So when you look at what government is doing, particularly with that, by the way, it's backed by Chinese investors. Is that the right way forward for you?
Okay, thank you very much, Kayode. Yes, it's a one step in the right direction, but that is not all the steps that we need to take. Whatever the government is doing at the executive level, if there is no law, legal framework back up, it will only be at the discretion of the government of the day. If another government comes, it may decide not to do that part. But when we have a legal framework in place, a law, an act that completely regulates in and out of season, obviously it becomes a progress in the right direction. You know, if you listen to what Dr. Nkosio Kojo-Iweala, the WTO chairman, said to Nigeria a few months back when he had opportunity to interface with Mr. President, he said, look, the economy has stabilized, but we need to progress in that direction. The question we will really ask, what are we doing right now that brought the economy into stability? And if you take stock of what we have been doing, then you will know that we need to progress in that direction. Right now, the government of the day is doing so much to allow more miners to go into this industry to mine these solid minerals. But beyond that, we need to put a legal framework not just mining these raw materials and cutting them away to process it outside the shores of Nigeria. Nigeria should equally be a site where these raw materials are processed, values are added, our people are equally integrated in all the processes for us to equally know how do we turn a raw materials into a finished goods. That is what the intendment of my proposed bill is all about. So away from the encouragement of so many miners to go into this sector, the law must also be in place to also help the executive to see to it that it is a long-term effect. If you look at our oil and gas industry, we passed the Petroleum Industrial Act. When? That was 2021. Am I right? But we discovered oil in 1956. Look at the gap. So within this gap, a whole lot of inconsistency crept into the industry, bastardized the entire place, and messed up our entire oil and gas industry until we woke up to realize that, no, we need to have a law in place. So that should not be in the case of this solid mineral. We are up and doing. Let's have this law in place and begin to regulate it. Whoever wants to bring in a goods that can be produced here with our raw materials, this law will tell him, no, you must intentionally develop your manufacturing plant in our shores. Otherwise, take your goods elsewhere. Because Nigeria has been rated among the Committee of Nations in West Africa with very active population and consumption population. We can leverage on that to attract all the technologies that we need in the world to develop our raw materials.
All right, Honorable Jimbo, as we wind down now, we have, besides lithium, an abundance of other natural resources, and we could begin to list what should be the role, and this is constitutional, of the subnationals, you know, to also take advantage of the mineral resources within their domain, to mine them and gainfully employ the youths and transform, you know, economically and industrially. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, thank you very much. By the grace of God, I'm equally a member of the Constitutional Review Committee. Of course, part of what we are looking at that point is devolution of powers to subnationals. And we've already seen that in the establishment of the regional development, Northeast, Southeast, blab, and all that. We've also seen that state policing is coming on board. We've also seen that even in the Constitution, in the 9th Assembly, what was delisted from the exclusive legislative list was power, electricity generation, transmission, and distribution. It is now on concurrent list. Maybe part of what we should also be looking at is solid minerals should be delisted from the executive list and placed on concurrent so that subnationals can take full charge of this in order to power our nation and generate a lot of employment for our people. All
right. It's very important that we finally been able to have this conversation, but it's an ongoing one. We must anchor at this point, and thank you very much. Honorable Clement Jibo is the member representing Abak Etim Ekpo Ika Federal Constituency at the House of Representatives. Thank you so much for your time.
It's my honor. Thank you for having me. I'm grateful.
When we return, we'll equally turn our lens on another important conversation. It's about allegations of certificate forgery concerning the Minister of Science and Technology. Stay with us for this one. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Morning Brief right here on Channels Television. And this next leg of our conversation focuses on the controversy of alleged certificate forgery surrounding the Minister of Science and Technology, Mr. Uche Naji. And of course, the university in question, UNN, has been speaking, and there was also a court case. Recall this began from about July 2023 when the minister's name came up for screening. Let's have this conversation and get the minister's perspective. His spokesperson joins us now on the program. Mr. Robert Ngu is the spokesperson to the Minister of Science and Technology and Innovation. Mr. Ngu, thank you for joining us on the Morning Brief.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And reports also came through yesterday that the minister's lawyer argued in court. To set the tone, what is the summary of the prayers of the lawyer in court?
Well, there was an injunction granted by the court the Honourable Minister sought protection of the court. One, that the school should stop tampering with his academic files, because there was an information that his files was lodged in the Vice Chancellor's office for the last 6 months. Secondly, that the school should release his transcript, and those were granted, those protections were granted. And thirdly, that the supervising authority should do their work by supervising these institutions. Those are the prayers, and they were granted.
But I deliberately wanted you to go through those prayers again, but it appears as if they're contradictory. On the one hand, you're asking the UNN not to tamper with his academic records, and on the other hand, you're demanding a release of his transcript. In exercising its right, to access the transcript or to produce the transcript, it must, touch on the academic records of the minister.
They didn't say don't touch. It says stop tampering or manipulating, because there was obvious evidence by what we saw online where things from a personal file of a former student was being released online. That means somebody in the school is deliberately doing that. So we got on the good authority that there were some manipulations going on. And so, excuse me, the Honourable Minister sought protection of the courts, that they should release his transcript.
Is that your own interpretation, that it's tampering? Because the UNN reserves the right to look into the academic records of its student.
Oh yes, nobody is stopping them from looking. The file is with them. It is their file, and their file is there for them to review, nobody's stopping them. Tampering is a different,
some would say tampering is your own interpretation of the university's rights.
No. The file of a student has no business in the Vice Chancellor's office. You have an acting Vice Chancellor who was a card-carrying member of a PDP. Under normal circumstances, he's not even qualified to be a Vice Chancellor of the school, but he was made acting. And then you have another Vice Chancellor who was in government for decades, and you put a robe, an academic robe, on a politician. So the minister was jittery, because we know this is political, and we know how Enugu politics is, And so in Enugu, PDP has found a way to remain in power for the last 26 years by making sure there are no competition during elections. So what they do is go after whoever they think we challenge them and try to discredit them or find a way for them not to have a political party to run on. So the issue was stop tampering, stop manipulating his files, stop, basically release his transcripts.
All right. Before we get into the politics of it, there are also talks that the minister by himself in admission in the court document has said that the university didn't refused to release his academic records to him, his certificate. So the question is, where did he get the one that he had presented before the Senate for screening, before the SGF for screening? Some are saying that by admission he has said that indeed he forged the one that is with him if the university did not avail him of his certificate.
That is where the problem is. The problem is that everybody is quoting Premium Times. Everybody has seen Premium Time as the Bible or the Quran of journalistic integrity. Everybody you've spoken to say Premium Time said, right? But has anybody actually found out if what they're speculating is true? In the court, there are prayers that were asked. One is, stop tampering with my files. Two, release my transcript. By the way, in May was when he asked for his transcript. He applied for it. He paid for it, and it was not released. So he had to get a court order for you to release his transcript. Why are you not releasing his transcript? That's his academic records. Release it. That's all.
So did he admit or not that the university refused to release his certificate?
My point is, the issue is about transcript. What has certificate got to do with transcript? If you're asking for transcript, why would you talk about certificate? The point is...
But certificate is also important in this conversation.
I understand.
Because the question is, how then did he get through Senate screening before he became minister?
I want to discredit that comment, because all I'm asking journalists to do is to do their own independent... Do your own independent research in the case. Don't quote Premium Times. Because everybody keep quoting Premium Times.
No, I'm asking you now, did he present a certificate during screening before he became he got the nod to become a minister.
Yes.
Did he present?
He presented his certificate.
So where did he get that one?
He presented his certificate, which was valid. The screening authorities have screened his certificate and they passed him. You understand? Now, the Minister of the Federal Republic, as a former student, he is not the person to validate a certificate given to him by the school. The school is responsible for validating his certificate. And what did they say? After 2 days search of a 40-year-old record, what did the Vice Chancellor say? Meanwhile, the Vice Chancellor has no business responding to such things. But he took it upon himself in 2 days to search 40-year-old record to say, information available to me, we cannot verify. We cannot attest. From information available to you, what is wrong with your information? What is wrong with the information available to you that you have to keep somebody's file for 6 months in your office, and yet you could not verify something awarded by your institution? You understand? So look at the key issue. From information available to them, they cannot. Which is why the minister asks you, release this transcript. Why do you, if you go to school, to any other school or to a different country, they ask you for your transcript, not for your certificate. There's a reason for that. Because the transcript is more superior. The transcript shows your academic records. The transcript shows, your progress, your graduation level, and all that.
All right.
Which is why he goes for
all
that.
All right. There's so many questions to ask. You really haven't, answered my questions satisfactorily, but I'm sure Kayode has follow-up questions for you from Lagos. Kayode, go ahead.
To be clear, in paragraph 13 of the affidavit filed during the court processes, the minister is quoted as saying that I am yet to collect my certificate from the third defendant, that's UNN, due largely to the non-cooperative attitude of the third to the fifth defendants, which is UNN, the Vice Chancellor, and the registrar. If indeed the Honorable Minister made those comments in the affidavit, it either means he lied under oath, if you say that he actually has a certificate that he submitted to the Senate, or what was submitted for his screening was forged. Which one is it?
Okay, go. Basically, you want to know why, and you're still going back to the same question of what Premium Times said. Premium Times has become a repeat offender on misinformation. And so many cases abound where they allege something and they go and quietly apologize. They shoot before verifying. So everybody is quoting Premium Times, and I don't feel comfortable answering anything coming from Premium Times. If channels have done their independent investigation and asked me a question, I will address it. Premium Times is known to be an online publication that goes after their paid sponsors from politicians. And this is all political.
Mr. Ngo, so I want you to stick to the. I understand. I understand your point, and I want us to speak to the issues. Okay, and I am giving you a paragraph from the affidavit. Is that submission wrong? Did he say that under oath or not? This is, again, this is for Nigerians. They want to know the truth. And I think this presents a very, viable opportunity and platform for the Honorable Minister to speak his own side without, getting immersed to whatever issues, surround this. So I want us to speak to the issues. Did he make those statements under oath in the affidavit that the university is yet to give him his certificate or not?
What the Honorable Minister said was that his transcript has not been given to him. You know why? Because from 1985 till 2013, he has never worked for a private, he has never worked for government or anybody that would have asked him for transcript. He's been in the private sector all his life. So for the first time, he's actually asking for his transcript. It has never been given to him. He has never asked for it before. So this case is all about transcript, which he, by the way, applied for in May of this year. He applied for his transcript since May. Till date, they have not given him his transcript, which is why he went to court to ask for the same transcript. So if you go to a court filing and you look at hundreds of pages of an affidavit, and you bring out one line that may or may not be there. The fact remains that the purpose of this court case was release my transcript. That's what he asked for. And to date, even with injunction, the school has not released it as of this morning. That's basically what it is.
So you're saying that that line in the affidavit, and I must point out again that these are court proceedings under oath, and the truth must be said. You're saying that he didn't say that he has not gotten his certificate, that what he said is that he has not gotten his transcript. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. The prayer he sought for, which the court gave him the protection.
No, let's be clear. I'm not talking about the prayers. I am talking about his own submissions under affidavit. The prayers are one thing. His own submission to support his claim is another thing. And you understand the court proceedings. He would give his own case.
But you're still quoting what Premier Times alleged. That's why I asked you, have you seen it?
Okay, so here's what we'll do. In front of Nigerians right now, you have the court proceedings. I'm correct, because I saw you were looking at it on your phone. Can you pull it out and read to us the paragraph 13 for Nigerians? Certainly. Is that something you can do right now?
Oh, yes, I can do that.
Yes, please.
So this is suit number FHC/ABJ/CS/1909/2025. Minister of Education is number 1, National University Commissions number 2, University of Nigeria number 3, Professor Simon Otwaya, the VC number 4, Registrar number 5, Professor Gilejofo Ojam, who was the former acting VC number 6, Senate, University of Nigeria number 7. This is an ex parte. 1, the order granting leave to the applicant to issue the prerogative writ of prohibition on the 3rd to the 5th and the 7th respondents from tampering with or continue to tamper with the applicant's academic records at the University of Nigeria in Nsukka. Number 2, an order granting leave to the applicant to issue the prerogative writ of mandamus compelling the 3rd to the 5th and 7th respondents to release to the applicant his academic transcripts at the University of Nigeria in Nsukka. In addition to 2 above, number 3, an order granting leave to the applicant to issue the prerogative writ of mandamus compelling the 1st and 2nd respondents to ensure, utilizing their supervisory and disciplinary powers, that the 3rd to the 5th and 7th respondents release to the applicant his academic transcript at the University of Nigeria in Nsukka. Number 4, an interim order of injunction restraining the 3rd to the 5th to 7th defendant from tampering or continue to tamper with the applicant's academic records at the University of Nigeria pending the termination of this suit. Such order to further orders in this court may deem fit to make.
Okay, Mr. Ongu,
and those protections
let me pause you for a moment so you can grab a glass of water, just so you're well hydrated. But it's not the orders that we're speaking about here, and I appreciate that you're able to read that to Nigerians. What is the bone of contention is the affidavit, which is his own side of the story, supporting his own claim. And I want us to go to paragraph 13 of the affidavit, not the prayers and the eventual order. I'm talking about the affidavit, if you get my drift here, Mr. Ongu. So it's paragraph 13 specifically that I want you to go to of the affidavit.
And what I have here is the court order. I don't have the full affidavit here with me, but if you have it, you can read it.
So, so you can't.
Don't read what premium time.
No, if you're saying that it's not true. I
want the court records.
I understand. If you're saying that is not true, then you need to provide us with what you regard as evidence to counter that. But in the absence of that, you can't keep saying it's not true. For all you care, you may have not seen it yourself. Or have you seen it? And if you have seen it, can you give us? Let's have it.
Okay. Here is what is the issue at point here? That's the most important question. What is the issue at point? The issue at point is a transcript of a former student, an alumni of the school, asking his school to provide his transcript to him. He officially applied May 2025. The reason why he did that was because of the academic robe was put on a politician who has no business being acting VC of a premium University of Nigeria. So he, on good authority, he had information that there was some crazy things going on between the state government and an agent of the state government who was put in charge, who was put on academic robe in the school. Based on that, he's like, you know what, give me my transcript. Because every time, as you see in the history of Nigeria, every time you talk about certificates, somebody say there's no comma here, there's no signature here, there is no number. They keep, so transcript is a superior document that shows somebody's academic record. So everything about this case is about seeking protection. 1, stop tampering with my file. 2, release my transcript. That is what this is all about. So ask yourself, what has a certificate got to do with your asking for a transcript? Ask yourself that. So
well,
you look at
Mr. Ongo,
hundreds of pages.
Mr. Ongo, I mean, a majority of Nigerians watching have passed through university or even polytechnic or some sort of academic institution, and we need to place it on record. If you say the transcript is superior, why then are you issued a certificate? And let's be clear, a certificate is a formal document awarded to prove that you have completed. Okay, the course, the transcript in itself is to show what you got in different courses. So you took microbiology, you took physics, this is what you scored. But what you get at the end of that process is a certificate. So I find it curious that you say that a transcript is superior to a certificate when it's proven that a certificate is indeed the proof that you have completed your course. Now, the bone of contention here, pardon me, let me stop you for a second. Pardon me, let me just land. The bone of contention here, and as I said, nobody's trying to hang the minister, it's just to get the facts out there for Nigerians. The bone of contention the bone of contention is what certificate did he present to the Senate if that paragraph says he has not gotten his certificate? That is one bone of contention. The second is the school's statements. Again, the letter, which is said to have been written, and the school, the vice chancellor saying, hey, we have looked and we're unable to confirm that we have his records here. I want you to also speak to issues around the letter saying that he was not able to pass a certain course and he had to retake that course. So those are the issues of contention. Where did he get his certificates from, even for NYSC as well, if indeed he said he had not gotten them?
You asked a very valid question, which is why the Honorable Minister was asking for his transcript. The Vice Chancellor of the university received, or supposedly received, a Freedom of Information letter from Premium Times on the 29th September, right? 1st October was a public holiday. So you have 30th. On the 2nd, he responded after searching through 40-year-old record. And he tells you, excuse me, from available information, from information available to him, he cannot validate the certificate. But what is available to you? What is available to you is a transcript, right? The information available to you is a transcript. So in this case, what you're talking about is, why are you looking for transcripts when certificate is better? But they say, for me, they don't even have a copy of the certificate in their files. Which questions the record keeping as a premium institution? So if it takes you 2 years to search 40-year-old record, a vice chancellor who should be busy, who was just appointed less than 2 months ago, should be busy, he took two days to search through 40-year-old record and said, from information available to me, I cannot. He has created an out for himself. So, which is why the Honorable Minister was wise to say, give me my transcript, which will show everything, including all the questions you're asking. The transcript is there to show. That's what I'm saying. Release it to me. All right, Mr.
Ngo, if I can quickly come in here, and I think it would be great to even have the minister himself speak to these issues. For some people, it may have been a downer yesterday that the minister didn't show up. Because in cases like this, you expect that, oh, he shows up and says you know, this is the situation. Because I serve Nigerians, I'm accountable to Nigerians, right? So it would be great to have a conversation with the minister. Let's walk through it together. But there's a growing call for him to step aside during this whole process to show that indeed he's in tune with the issues. Is that something he's willing to do?
Well, it goes back to the whole reason for all this campaign. Premium Times was allegedly paid 100 million to start this process.
By who? Because this is a big allegation, Mr. Who paid, and do you have proof?
Allegedly paid 100 million for starters to start this campaign.
By who? And do you have the proof?
If you look at it, I'll come back to that. If you look at the history...
I need you to speak to that quickly so we don't lose it in transit. By who? Okay. And do you have proof of this? Because that's a weighty allegation we can't verify.
They were allegedly paid by the state government of Enugu State. That's the person behind the mask.
And where's the proof you have?
100. Okay, we can talk about proof. Okay? That's why I say it was allegedly. So, which is, you know, let the state government defend themselves. But the point remains that this is all politically motivated. And that's what they're good at. And everybody, I'm perplexed that every media outfit in Nigeria is quoting Premium Times. Every media outfit. All of them. Do your independent verification. In 2023, December, another outfit, Gazette, went online. They wrote to the university to verify the academic records of the Honorable Minister. They wrote a letter, sealed and stamped by the registrar of the school, and sent to Gazette publication, quoting when he started and when he graduated. And that was it. So 2 years later, 2025, a new vice chancellor who just came in started responding to things he has no business responding to.
So who wrote a letter to Gazette that published the date of admission and date of graduation? Okay,
Gazette wrote to University of Nigeria.
And University of Nigeria replied supplying date of admission and date of graduation.
Yes, they did.
And you have that letter.
We have that letter.
Make it available to Nigerians.
Yes, make it available to Nigerians. It's online. It's on public records. Yes,
it's a public record.
Yes,
we would like to cite that, but you know that you have made weighty allegations against the Enugu State government, and you can back it up with evidence.
They were allegedly paid. Yes.
Can you back it up with evidence? You have proof of transaction.
We allegedly was people who verbal confirmation, right? So we can find out.
You can back it up with your sources.
We have our sources.
You have your sources.
Yes.
Okay, because the Enugu State government has been speaking through their spokesperson. And the governor is saying the minister should carry his cross, that he's got nothing to do with this. Okay, as we wind down, are you denying the authenticity of the affidavit where in paragraph 13, the minister admitted that UNN has refused to issue him his certificate?
What I'm contesting...
It's not about what you're contesting. It's the authenticity of the affidavit.
Anything that comes from Premium Times, to me, has no credibility. So if you want me to respond to something everybody's quoting Premium Times, if Chanel's told me...
You are the spokesperson of the minister.
Yes, I am.
Are you dissociating the minister from that affidavit? You're saying that affidavit didn't come from the minister.
What I'm saying is that, ask yourself, minister is seeking for protection. One, stop this from messing with my records, because that's what they're doing. Two, release my transcript.
You have not answered the question, Mr. Ungo.
Everything, you're asking me to go through hundreds of records of an affidavit that is not in front of me. You understand? The only thing that you're telling me is that the Premium Times said. How can I respond to that when I don't trust anything that Premium Times is saying?
But the affidavit originated from your principal, from the minister.
The case originated from my minister, yes.
So we can rely on the information that has come through in paragraph 13, where he admitted that the university did not give him his certificate.
He never admitted that.
We can.
What he said was that he has never received his transcript. Never received his transcript.
Did he receive his certificate from the university?
He submitted records to go through confirmation.
So he didn't receive his certificate from the university?
He received certificate.
He received certificate.
But he's not the one, it's not his job to validate certificate that he received from the school. It is the school's responsibility. And the vice chancellor is telling you, from records available to him, he cannot do that.
Well, your answer is neither here nor there.
It is straightforward.
We might have to hear from the minister himself in order to verify whether indeed he received his certificate from the university or not, or whether what is being said in that affidavit contradicts what he has put out to the Senate, and indeed to...
He sought protection.
As we wind down, if the UN and the institution, let's assume without conceding that it's, subject to the whims and caprices of the Enugu State government, what about the National Youth Service, which has also written to Premium Times and said, look, we cannot authenticate this certificate of passing out that the minister has presented? Is the NYSC also...
That is false.
...at the beck and call?
NYSC never did that.
Okay, give us clarification on what has been said.
No, they didn't show you what NYSC sent them. They're the ones that are alleging. They should prove. NYSC never wrote to them that he never did. They should have shown it.
Do you know what NYSC indeed said? Can you tell us indeed if NYSC authenticated the minister's passing out certificate?
There was never there was never an issue of NYSC. All you saw is somebody interpreting fake documents they put online and started analyzing it. There was never an issue of NYSC. He served his country in Plateau State.
And you are clarifying that he didn't have issues,
he has no issues
with NYSC certificate.
No issues.
And NYSC didn't write to say they couldn't authenticate.
The only time they wrote was when the governor of Enugu State, where they wrote and said that what he presented was not valid.
All right. Yeah. It appears as if there are more questions than answers even after this conversation, and we look forward to an opportunity to get the answers that we seek from the Honourable Minister himself. We must thank you very much, Mr. Robert Ugu, who is the spokesperson of the Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, Minister Uchechukwu Naji. Thank you, Mr. Ungu, for coming on the morning brief.
Thank you very much for having me.
We'll take a moment. When we return, we're staying with the courts, this time around with a view to examining the force's decision to go ahead and implement tinted glass permits. Stay with us on the morning brief. We'll be right back.
So let's talk about tinted glass permit. The police has been enforcing that now, but some legal practitioners went to court on this, and the court gave a ruling saying, wait a minute, hold up, the police. The police has also spoken saying, we've not gotten the court order. So it's a lot of back and forth. But we'll dig deeper into this issue so everybody knows what is expected, particularly the policemen on the road and the vehicle owners themselves, because when there are gray areas, we tend to see people exploiting and taking things overboard. And we have joining us on the program today a legal practitioner, Mr. Malaki Ugumadu. Good morning and welcome to the program.
I'm delighted to be with you again. Good morning, viewers.
Just before we get into the tinted glass permit, you finished from UNN.
Correct.
And I know you've been following this case in some sense. Being a graduate of UNN, hearing all of the back and forth about certificates, well, affidavit is something you hear a lot as a lawyer, but the whole transcript, certificates, scandal involving the minister, what do you make of it?
It blows no one any good win. It diminishes the motto of that great institution, which is to restore the dignity of man. Dignity also consists in integrity. And to say the least, it is scandalizing. I would have thought that the earlier in time that this is put behind us in terms of coming out clean with all that needs to be known, the better for us. The University of Nigeria is a great institution. In fact, despite the fact that I had cause to take that university to court twice before I graduated, a degree withheld, but I'm the legal advisor. I've been of the Lagos State branch of the alumni, and I'm actively involved. In fact, it was part of the reason why I went for the MBA conference this year, because I had in Enugu, and we had a proper reunion of my own class with the dean, the faculty of law, visited and took on projects and made commitments to continue to foster the ideals of that great institution. So when you juxtapose that with stories about fake results, inadequate, it's scandalizing to say the least.
But you have your certificate.
Sorry?
Do you have your own certificate?
What? There's no scandal around that.
Just to be clear, because I know that this is actually some issue that we also need to clear about certificates in tertiary institutions, yes. How tough it is sometimes. You almost wonder, this is something you're meant to get, but some people, even years after they've graduated, they've not gotten their certificate.
Well,
and that's
correct,
not even
yeah.
speaking to the minister's case. Yes. But this is something we need to deal with, or you want to get some sort of information and it's taking a long time.
In my own case, you know, I had to even go to court for mine to be released. And that took approximately 2 years, and I got it. So in all, you could say that I had the privilege or misfortune of dragging that same institution to court 3 times before I eventually left.
Oh dear.
But that matter is settled. It's not in dispute where I stand.
Fantastic. But that is not the bone of contention, at least for us. I just wanted to get a sense of your own experience. And you finished much later? Yes,
I didn't have the privilege of listening to them this morning because I was on my way to this place, but I finished much earlier from what I have read.
Oh, no, I mean you graduated from UNN.
Much later.
Much later,
yes.
Than 1985.
No. I was 99 and then called eventually in 2002.
Ah, Fourth Republic set.
Thank you.
Well, let's talk about tinted glass permit. It's an issue that has been on for quite some time. The police finally said, well, let's regularize this. Nigerians apply. Okay, give you a certificate. But if you don't have that certificate, we're going to clamp down on you. And they started implementing across states. But lawyers went to court and they got a stay. But the police said, we've not even gotten any, court processes or any result of that just yet. So as at today, right now, Mr. Malaki Ogumadu, for vehicle owners who are applying the roads and they get stopped by policemen about tinted permit, what is the position of the law, or at least from the court's perspective?
The social media has made this a lot easier, because there's a sense in which we must also demonstrate that we are not from Ghana. We are citizens of Nigeria. And when I use such expressions, I may be smiling, but I'm dead serious. And you know, this has been reoccurring. Your station gave me enough platform in 2011. They ran amok with this same idea. Then I didn't quite understand why the idea was muted. Because when the heat of crisis, you can't completely question the, if you like, the parameters of the police in securing Nigeria. It is their prerogative, and they understand it better. But when they do that in total disregard of the rights of Nigerians, we will ask questions. Because again, we have to also show that we are Nigerians. Now, in 2011, precisely on the 4th of March, 2011, there was once a Minister of Police Affairs by name Humphrey Abba. He had come out with a wide publication declaring that the use of tinted glass has been banned. On the basis of that, the Inspector General of Police gave a deadline for the total ban of the use of tinted glasses by Nigerians. But in that publication, they made an exemption and said only the president, the vice president, governors and their deputies, speaker, and Senate president shall be exempted from that ban. My problem was, why was Malaki not included? Have I suddenly, even why was Kayode not included? Have we suddenly become lesser citizens of this country on account of the fact that we don't occupy those public offices? By the way, the vehicles we are talking about, most of which are factory-fitted tinted glasses. Mark you, I'm discussing my case that
in 2011.
In 2011. These matters are sub judice now. I'm not talking about those cases. The two reasons for which you could have the tinted gas are security and health.
Yeah.
Now, by the time we were discussing this matter, those who were exempted are people with enough security. I'm talking of physical security personnel. There is no way the president, in short, if it is the speaker or deputy speaker that comes to your studio, the whole of your street will be cordoned off. They have security drawn from all the security apparatus of this country. They are guarded, they are protected. Those of us who also need this security too, on account of the failure of the state, and in particular the police, are told, no, your life is not as important as these ones we have exempted. You cannot have it. There is no better understanding that I have of the law, specifically Section 42 of the Constitution, that prohibits discrimination, other than what happened then. So we wrote.
Right.
When they did not answer, we went to the I went to the Federal High Court before Justice Okechukwu Okeke, who was then retiring. And at least we got the leave to, and we made it a focal issue until they abandoned it. So 14 years after,
we're back.
We're back to the same thing.
But Mr. Ogumadu, the courts, that's a Federal High Court in Warri Delta State, yes, ordered the police to maintain
the status quo
on the enforcement of the tinted glass permit.
That is precisely the sixth order.
So, as at this moment, and that's why I asked you earlier, as
yes,
at this moment,
yes,
what should the police be doing regarding that enforcement?
Thank you. Status quo, as a legal principle of law, is the situation that existed before the controversy ensued, leading to litigation. That is the status quo. So, the status quo was that there is no enforcement of tinted glass ban. That is the status quo. When you say status quo, and these are decisions already settled by the Supreme Court, I reference GTB and GABA. These are Supreme Court judgments. It says it is the situation that exists before any controversy ensued, leading to contestation, disputation, litigation. So that is it. And the court says, let the status quo be maintained. The police, which is the primus law enforcement agency in the country, is bound to obey that. In fact, Section 287 of the Constitution imposes a duty on every Nigerian, even much more on institutions of government and agencies of government, including the Nigerian police, which is the first law enforcement agency,
right,
to obey that.
So nobody should be enforcing.
This is a Federal High Court order.
So there's jurisdiction and no police should be enforcing right now.
I mean, that should lead to another litigation.
All right, Bukola.
Contempt.
Bukola, over to you now. I don't know if you've had any experience in Abuja, but it's all yours.
Well, I haven't had to drive in Abuja, Kayode, so I haven't had any experience so far. But, Mr. Gumadu, the police is quoting Section 2, subsection 3A of the Motor Vehicles Prohibition of Tinted Glass Act 2004. I know that the court, the litigation processes you're citing is from 14 years ago as well. I'm not quite sure about the timing. But when you say that status quo is the timing before litigation ensued, does this have any bearing on this law that the police is quoting? And does the court principle nullify the existing law?
I couldn't hear you completely, but let me be clear on this. The Motor Vehicle Prohibition, the Motor Vehicle Tinted Glass Prohibition Act is an act of the National Assembly now. It has always been a law since 1991. It was a decree that became an act subsequently. So whether in 2011 or now, that is the law under use. That is the law, that is the extant law. So there's no prevarication, no disputes as regards that. Now, if they quoted Section 2 of that act, they will also be fair to Nigerians to quote the section of the law that insists that what they can only do in the event of any violation is to charge such people to the Federal High Court and upon conviction to be fined. And the amount, 2,000 naira, is stated there in the law. So where is this idea of paying into a private account? I think they call it Parkway Project account. Where is that coming from? Secondly, to what extent would you be the one to issue the order, do the arrest, impound vehicles, get payment from the, in other words, passing judgment on the people who are in use of this vehicle? Look, the point I make, and I commend the NBA, because at the moment there are two cases already. There is one by Mr. Martins in Delta State, yes, the former first vice president of NBA, ably, presented to court by the learned Sikh Kunle Edu, SAN. Before that, there was one instituted by the Incorporated Trustee, Nigerian Bar Association, on behalf of itself and all the lawyers, practicing under them. Now, that one has not been, heard, at least as much as the one in respect of which another has been obtained. So, the issues are not very complicated as it's been made to look. The issue is that Nigerians are already witnessing what looks like intimidation. In short, there are already stories of extortion that we have. Mark you, I have monitored, and there are no less than at least 4 different commissioners of police, including that of Lagos State, Plateau States, and other states, that have gone onto the streets to enforce this law. When you have this restraining order, what is the purpose of a restraining order? It is to preserve the rest. If we are already implementing and enforcing this ban before the determination of the life issues that are already submitted to court, and the police should be the last to be seen in this kind of situation. I say this with all due respect.
Well, we're seeing, as you said, the commissioners enforcing this across the state in spite of the court case. So if we see law enforcement not enforcing the law, at least not obeying the law, you wonder what law are they then enforcing? But interesting days ahead. We're going to also be monitoring to see, because if the police keeps claiming that they've not gotten the court order, then you wonder, why aren't they represented in court?
No. It hasn't got. The order gotten was an ex parte order, but it has been served. In short, statements have been made by the force public relation officer, suggesting what the fact that they already seized with the orders, as it were.
They already seized with it?
Yes.
I hope the ones on our roads, the policemen on our roads also got the order.
Nigerians are encouraged to, the thing is on the social media.
Okay.
Have a copy of it and at least politely show them.
All right. Mr. Ogumadu, well, let's hope that works out, because we've seen things like that. You hear people, Nigerians telling police officers that, but your IG said this, they say IGs
we have
Abuja.
Better security issues to deal with.
That's right. The policemen will tell you, IGs in Abuja, we are here
They
on
want
the
chance people, they don't use tinted glass.
Well, Mr. Malaki Ogumadu, we have to thank you for your time. It's funny how we keep coming full circle time and again. As a legal practitioner, thank you for this.
Thank you for the opportunity again. Thank you.
Well, that's where we anchor on the show for this morning. Major issues have been thrashed, but the conversation continues, and we're back tomorrow with a bumper package. As Bukola would say, I'm Coyote Okikulu.
And of course, Sunrise Daily is up next. Stay with Channels Television. Thank you for watching. I am Bukola Koka.